Donkey Kong Country.
Hey guys, welcome to our, what number video is this?
Week 4.
Week 4.
Welcome back to the Game Club.
I'm Bowman.
I'm Pat, and this week we're talking about Donkey Kong Country. You've all played it, we've played it, your grandma's played it. It's a platform on the Super Nintendo.
We'll start off with our thoughts on the game. Personally, it's Donkey Kong Country. What else can you really say about this game?
It's a classic.
It's just, you put it in and it feels like I never stopped playing it. It was groundbreaking back then. It was part of the era when Rare was really starting to release good hits for Nintendo.
They had those graphics that nobody had ever seen before. It was like 3-dimensional images, but on a 2D plane.
Yeah, 3D sprites, and it was just obviously 3D games have been out for a while, but I think this really pushed 3D imagery and sprites into the mainstream. And I feel like the big thing about this game is that a lot of people back then, a lot of companies, were trying to develop Mario knockoffs essentially.
Well, a lot of people back then were just like, this be so real because of the sprites.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the game. Yeah, Donkey Kong Country. It's a classic. You've all played it. We don't really need to talk about it too much. We'll let you guys do the talking. We've got 3 awesome video responses this week. And first up, we've got our old pal Tharpedo from week 2.
Week 2, episode
Pod
1
Racer.
Racer.
Yes. And take it away, Tharpedo.
Alright, Tharpedo here with a game review. And today we're talking about Donkey Kong Country. That's right, I said it. Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, I like this game.
One of the best games of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, this is one of my favorite platformers of all time, one of my favorite games of all time. It could be traced back to when I was just a 5-year-old, basically. I had this game as a child. It was my sister's Super Nintendo. I should have mentioned that this game is for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Oops. It came out in I want to say it's either 93 or 94. I spent much of my childhood, much of my adolescence playing this game, and it really shaped a lot of my tastes for video games. So I'd say when judging the game on its merits as a game that came out in its time, it's about as good as you could get in terms of platformers or just video games, in my opinion, because that's my style of video game. Now, a lot of people will tell you that Donkey Kong Country 2, the sequel to this game, was much better. Much better. Not just better. They say it exceeds the first one by leaps and bounds. I think this game gets overlooked a lot in lieu of its sequel, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, because that game pretty much improved tenfold in every area of the original. But I don't think that should hurt the reputation of the original. And I just don't think it should be forgotten just because it had a better sequel. But shut up! Shut up! Hey! Sorry about that, my dog was biting on her gate. Anyways, I'm kind of just going off into all sorts of different topics here. This isn't a very fluid review. Shut up. But how do I feel about this game? How do I feel about Donkey Kong Country?
I like this game. Everybody wanna play this game.
I like this game. I like it a lot. It's a classic. It's dear to me. It'll always be in my heart. And I go back to it periodically, and I think I will for the rest of my life. Keep collecting those bananas. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tharpedo, for that review. It was great. You went to real lengths on how much you liked Donkey Kong Country. We'll post the full review down at the bottom. It'll be about 50 times longer than what you see here.
I mean, he really likes this game.
He really likes
this game.
And he did pick it, so I guess it's fitting.
It's very fitting.
Next up, we've got a review from Jess. And she was nice enough to give us her thoughts on the game. And, well, take it away, Jess.
It's Jess. Thanks for having me. I am so excited about this week's pick, Donkey Kong Country, one of my favorite games. I'm not entirely sure of the storyline. You had Donkey Kong and then Diddy Kong, which I think is his nephew, and together they're on an adventure to save their banana ward from an evil alligator who I'm not even sure eats bananas, so I don't even know why he's part of the game. One of the things that really set this game apart for me was its multiplayer functionality. The fact that you could switch between Donkey and Diddy mid-game, mid-level, whenever you wanted to was a really big deal for me. It was something that I always kind of looked for in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was a similar kind of game, side-scrolling platform at least, that was released around the same time. However, you couldn't switch between Sonic and Tails the same way that you could with the characters in Donkey Kong Country. It was great if you had siblings like I did. Another thing that I loved about this game was the versatility of its levels. You had Minecart Carnage, which was everybody's favorite, where you rode in a minecart and had to jump hurdles and then you had the little sidekick animal mini games where you could play as an ostrich or a rhino or a swordfish, all sorts of things. And then one of the most frustrating levels for me as an adult was Snow Barrel Blast. That was a level that was made up almost entirely of barrels. You would jump in and you'd have to time it right, just right to shoot into the next barrel, and it was agonizing. I found out later that there was a cheat in the very beginning where you could just jump into one barrel and shoot through the entire level. Talk about frustrating. But overall, this game was so much fun. It's got a lot of great characters that went on to be in many other Nintendo games, as well as, of course, the nostalgia's sake. It was a huge game for my age group. When I was a kid, I think everybody had it. And it was just a whole lot of fun. So I'd give it 5 out of 5 bananas. Thank you. Have a good night.
Great thoughts, Jess. Like a lot of good points brought up. The animals in the game were really cool. The bonus levels. Like being able to have access to those different, like the sword,
the secrets and the hints, and and like she mentioned, everyone's favorite, the minecart level.
Yeah.
Your favorite by far.
I'm awful at it. Well. No!
So, anyway, we got one more video review from Daddy Soul Donut, otherwise known as Mike. Apparently that name's going by the wayside.
See you later.
So, adios, Daddy Soul Donut. Hello, Mike. And here we go.
Hello, Game Boys. This is Daddy Soul Donut. I mean, you can just call me Mike in the future. That whole thing's going by the wayside. But talking about Donkey Kong Country, I'll just give my history and perspective on it because everybody knows the game. It was like the first game that I anticipated, like the first game that I even was aware of before the release, because I was very young. But I had a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo Power subscription, and I guess like they sent out some VHS tape to everybody. I remember getting it in the mail, and it was this like behind the scenes look at Donkey Kong Country and all the cool like 3D models that they were employing. I mean, in a two-dimensional way, but it just blew my mind, and I was really psyched for it. Of course, it didn't disappoint. It's one of the best, most accessible platformers, I think, on the Super Nintendo. You had all those special animals that you could find, sometimes in secret areas, which was, you know, pretty gratifying. I really liked any time you got, like, an extra animal to ride, or, like, maybe like a mech in Metal Slug or Simpsons Arcade when you could like combine characters. Anytime in that era that you could like get a little leg up, it felt very cool. Sort of like the Warthog in Halo, sort of like a modern day equivalent, same type of feeling. It's just a great game. Well designed, has a lot of varied like locations, like the snow, there's an industrial, underwater, pirate ship, like everybody knows it. I give it props for not only having fantastic music overall, but it really suited each stage pretty nicely. I mean, there's not much more to say, just a great game. For next week's suggestion, I wanted to get away from the consoles and sort of platforming stuff. So I'm going to suggest a PC title that I never even played, but has a good reputation, System Shock 2.
Thanks, Mike. I remember anticipating this game when it came out. I'd be curious to see that video that you received, because I received something similar for when Pokemon was coming out. I got a promotional video from Nintendo. I also got one for Star Fox, actually. Did you ever get any of those? Like, these promotional videos back then?
No, I didn't get anything like that. We weren't allowed to have any kind of subscription that cost anything or any money. We had no Nintendo Power. We had no Nick Magazine. We had no anything.
You didn't do that? And then, what was it? Nickelodeon Magazine, please. That didn't work?
No, it didn't work. I tried it, but it did not work.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Well, any last thoughts on Donkey Kong Country?
This is a classic. If you haven't played it, play the damn game.
It's not, and it hasn't gone that. It's a little bit pricier. It's not like cheap, but it's
like
not.
$25,
But it's not
$20.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid game, solid platformer. I mean, who do you know that doesn't love this game? Really. So play it if you have a soul. If you don't, then get one and then play
it. All right, so that wraps up Donkey Kong Country. So
we got our suggestions in for next week's game, and the next game we're going to be playing is Pokemon Snap, suggested by Cuckoo Shamushu. And this was my very first Nintendo 64 game. I got the N64 at the end of its life cycle. Like I said, we didn't get a lot of things. So I had to buy the N64 myself, and since I was a poor little sewer rat, I had to wait until I had saved up multiple birthday money's worth to buy it myself, and I waited until it was in the bargain bin. So this had just come out pretty recently when I got it, and it's one of my favorite N64 games. I loved it. I'm pretty sure I might have gotten the N64 for this game.
It's a good reason.
Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to playing through this, and yeah, I mean, you used to print out the stuff.
Yeah, I remember actually, like, I went to my local rental store. I think it was Blockbuster by then, and I rented this game at first. It was probably a good choice because it's actually pretty short.
Yeah.
And I would go back to that rental store after I was done with it, and I put it into the printing machine and got like my printouts. And I remember I stuck the sticker on I wish I still had it, my Pokemon Blue version. I took a picture of Squirtle and then stuck it on the Pokemon Blue version. So that was like an awesome feature about the game, but I don't want to talk too much about it. We'll wait until the actual discussion of it.
See, the sticker pictures, for me, also fall under the Nintendo Power Extras, so I never got to experience that.
I don't even remember how much those things were. It was just like a standard machine.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh well. Maybe one of these days
they sell them on eBay for $1,000.
$1,000. So I mean, if you have $1,000 lying around. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about the future of our channel. Obviously, it's still really young, so there's a lot of things that are gonna constantly change. And one thing we've kind of noticed is that 1 week, or basically like 5 to 6 days, to give you guys to talk about a game is pretty short.
It ain't long enough.
No, it's not. Even for me, like I'm rushing to play these games and get them, and I don't always own them. And I like owning the physical copy, so I usually rush out there and get these games as soon as we know what it is.
So we're going to a 2-week format minimum. For the longer games, if someone decides to suggest an RPG or something, might have to go longer. But typical platformers, basic games, every other week we'll have an episode up. It'll still be in a timely manner. We just want to give you guys a better chance to play the game more, and we will still be releasing a weekly content. We're gonna have new types of videos, new ideas.
We don't want to like give away too much because then we have to hold ourselves to it. But there will be weekly episodes coming out, various ideas. But like Pat said, we want to enter a format where every other week is the discussion, so it gives you guys way more time and less excuses to comment and submit responses to us.
So until we see you in 2 weeks in the game club.
In the game club, but we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week doing something else. So until then, adios.
Adios.
Bye-bye.